Hey there friends, welcome back to another Legally Armed America video. I'm of course Paul Glasgow, the one and only truth pimp dealing you a vulgar display of logic and reason on a daily basis. And if I'm going to be the truth pimp, I've got to be truthful, right? Yesterday I was incorrect in one of my statements whenever I had discussed the law enforcement officer's proximity to Vance Bolter whenever he was confronted in the front yard of the people that he murdered. He was not in his vehicle whenever they drove up. He was already out of his vehicle. In fact, he was walking to the door, according to the press conference. I just want to make sure I get that very clear because I was emphatic in my statement that law enforcement was not only there before he entered the home and murdered the people, which was true, but I had exaggerated a little bit because my understanding at the time was that he was in his vehicle whenever they got there. That was not true. He was already out of his vehicle, walking from his vehicle to the front door whenever law enforcement drove up. Now, granted, no shots had been fired. He had not entered the home at that point. So the thing I was incorrect about is him being in the vehicle. I'm still outraged that law enforcement could see a guy walking to a front door in a police outfit. They knew he wasn't police. I mean, they have police uniforms, the legitimate ones, right? And they have the legitimate police vehicle. So they knew if they were accurate law enforcement officers that had worked their salt, that the guy was an imposter at the moment he was approaching. And again, I think one of the main serious questions that a lot of you have asked, not me, but you brought this to my attention, and thanks for doing it, was how did they know to go to that second location? Remember, this was the second location. He shot up the first location, did not kill anybody, went to the second location, and was successful in entering. How did these law enforcement officers know to go to that location? Boy, that makes it smell more fishy than what it already did, right? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. It's almost like they had the script ahead of time, and I'm saying that sarcastically, but hey, you make of that what you will. The purpose of this video today is to point out a couple of things. First of all, I mentioned yesterday that a drone had spotted Bolter in the woods. Turns out that a trail camera in the woods spotted Bolter. He contacted authorities. They in turn launched a drone which then spotted him, and police were able to contact him and capture him at that point. So just a point of clarity that I didn't realize yesterday, that it was a trail cam. Interesting again that more of the modern technology, obviously if a trail cam got him and somebody saw that, it was using cellular technology. So that's pretty cool that now trail cams couldn't be used in terms like this in order to capture somebody. Now, one other thing that I want to point out that a lot of you pointed out, I did not even think about yesterday when I put my video out. We were talking about the Pillsbury fat boy that Bolter was living with, the pizza boy, Papa John's, diabetes man. When we were discussing him, we were talking about, this is kind of weird, maybe he was trying to save a ride, into commuting to the morgue whenever he's going into work, his late shift work, and sleeping with this guy at his house 2 nights a week. Well, I meant staying there, not sleeping with him. And a lot of you guys pointed out that not only the weirdness of him staying at somebody else's house 2 nights a week away from his wife and family, but also the reaction of his Pillsbury fat boy whenever he got upset, and not only upset, emotionally, and started crying when talking about Bolter, that this might have been his butt buddy, his boyfriend, his side piece, his side chunk. And I'm like, never thought about that, but I bet every one of you are right. That makes perfect sense, and it would certainly, I guess, make it more believable, or at least understandable, why he did not want to show the actual screenshot. He was willing to read the text from Bolter to the media, but he didn't want to show the screenshot. And again, like a lot of you pointed out, it's likely because there was some, oh gosh, I don't even know how to approach this because I don't know the proper terminology in that world, but there was probably some sugary statements between them, like I love you and I love rubbing your big fat belly, or there's probably some stuff in there that not only we weren't meant to see, but we really didn't want to see anyway. And that includes the media. So maybe he was trying to keep his relationship more of a secret, or at least away from that, because probably Papa John didn't realize that he was employing a big fat guy that might have been dating the killer in this instance. Now, speaking of this home that they lived in and shared twice a week, I wonder when I talk about the text message, not just the text message, but if it's confirmed now, and this guy was doing it on TV, that the killer lived there 2 times a week. Did we just miss the FBI kicking the door in and searching this guy's home? Or did they do it and we just don't know about it? I know in this picture right here, you can see that it looks like the external door, at least the screen door or glass door, has been removed from the doorway. So possibly they did kick it in and went in there and ransacked it like they normally do, looking for evidence. If they haven't, then why haven't they searched this place if they knew, because we all know that he was living there 2 nights a week? Like to know what happened there. Did they in fact search this place? I'd also like to point out that there's a $5 million bail set for this guy who shot 4 people and murdered 2 of them. Why does that sound strange? If memory serves me correctly, didn't Trump have a $175 million bail for what essentially wound up being a clerical error? $175 million for a clerical error, $5 million for murder. What if the guy comes up with the bail? He could. He had a $500,000 home. What if he just put his home up, right, as collateral? I'm just saying, I mean, there would be, this isn't my field, so I don't know how that works. Can you put your home up for collateral? So what if he does? He eluded police for what, a couple days? And you guys would let him out? To me, it seems like somebody who eluded you guys for that long, you probably should have set a higher bail. I mean, again, the possibility of being a flight risk is pretty real in this case. He proved to be pretty effective, which brings up another question. If we knew that he had the look-alike police vehicle that he was driving back and forth to the homes, and he left it at the second home where he murdered the couple, then obviously, unless he is a seasoned criminal and knows how to hotwire a vehicle, which I doubt he can, he was a 7-Eleven manager. Make sense of that. But how did he have a secondary vehicle, a getaway vehicle, the one they caught him in? Because it seems to me that this was a vehicle that had to have been placed somewhere. We know we got the video of him going back to what appears to be the home where Fatback lived. But it doesn't look like he's taking much of anything out of it. What do I mean by much of anything out of it? Probably the most he could have taken is maybe paperwork, because we see him walking away. The getaway vehicle, the other vehicle, the one that I think was staged somewhere, seems like he might have had to have a little bit of help. Maybe that's why Fatback doesn't want to talk too much. But the car that he was caught in, not the SUV that he left at the house, but the car that he was caught in had a couple of AK-47s in it, I think another handgun. It had other stuff in it. Clearly, he did not take this from the vehicle at Fatback's house when he was on video where he busted the window out. So I wonder, was this guy so precise, a Jason Bourne, if you will, to be able to outfit a vehicle further away, maybe nearby where he actually killed that couple, access that vehicle, hide it with the stuff in it that was found in it, meaning the rifles, and then elude law enforcement in it? Sounds pretty involved if you ask me. Sounds really impressive for one guy to pull off. Not saying that it's impossible by any stretch. I mean, that's certainly all possible. But from a 7-Eleven, basically supervisor, probably shift manager, who was a part-time preacher, this seems pretty elaborate for a simple guy, right? Finally, I want to mention one other thing. His charges. How does a guy who targeted 4 people, murdered 2 of them, only get second-degree murder charged against him? How does a guy who has a list of people, supposedly, that he wanted to kill 40-something people, and he was successful at shooting 4 of those, and he was successful at murdering 2 of them. How does that guy get a second-degree charge? What am I missing here? I'm not an attorney, so I certainly can't answer that question myself. But my understanding was when you had full intent and you had such an elaborate plan like we just talked about, and you get hit with second degree, I understand the courts are trying to charge in many cases for something that will stick, because if they're not sure that they can make that charge stick, you don't want to overcharge to have the whole thing thrown out and the guy walks. I understand that. How do you not have him on first degree? How is that not possible? So very curious things going on here. Still, as more stuff comes out, less questions are answered if you ask me. And I'm also curious, if you notice today, the story's pretty quiet. I wonder how fast this one completely goes away.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.